What's up and welcome to the opening line right here, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Main man Corey Paulson, the fantasy executive, Benny Ricciardi, as we get ready for day 2 of the NCAA Tournament. You want to stay involved with us, make sure you subscribe right here on the YouTube page so when the video goes live, you get it right to your inbox. Benny, my man, you know what? Had a good start to the NCAA Tournament. I'm feeling pretty good. Today's a new day, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good day of gambling yesterday. My accounts have more money in them today than they did yesterday. So that's the goal, right? As long as you're making money, as long as you're building up that bankroll, that's what it's all about. So hopefully we can keep it going today and make some more money.
No doubt about it. Yesterday, obviously, as we kind of foreshadowed on the program yesterday, the big story was, I guess, the breakout performance of Ja Morant. Triple-double, 15, 16, and 11, I believe it was.
I think it was 17, 16, and 11, no?
17, 16, and 11. The kid put on a show as Murray State absolutely laid the wood to Marquette.
Yeah, that was one of the bad bets that I had made yesterday. I know you were all over that one, so props to you for that. I mean, listen, we said it at the beginning of the show yesterday, though. Like, Ja Morant is a legit stud. Like, he's a top 2, top 3 pick in the NBA draft. Worst case scenario, the dude can play. My beef was the rest of his team around him isn't all that good. But I'll tell you what, they looked pretty good yesterday helping him out. I mean, he had that one kid, Brown, was hitting shots. You know, the big kid inside was doing some work as well.
My favorite. I've been watching them for a lot this season. That big kid, he takes advantage of the situation playing with Ja.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, hey, it worked out for them pretty well. And, you know, we said from the beginning, like, this is a second-round matchup that they could win. So we could see him in the Sweet 16, which would be nice. Get to watch him play 2 more times.
That would be interesting. Obviously, next up for Murray State is a real tough one with the Florida State Seminoles. Leonard Hamilton and that team getting it done yesterday versus a very good Vermont team. But I told you, obviously, I know Ja's uncle, whatever. So he flew up from Atlanta to Newark yesterday.
Okay.
Took the Newark. He took the PATH train from Newark Airport into Penn Station. Penn Station, he got on Amtrak up to Hartford, right?
Yep.
So while the game's going on and Josh doing this thing, I'm texting him like, yo, Josh, #1 trend in the country. You know what I'm saying? Murray, #2 trend in the country. I'm like sending him screenshots of all this stuff on Twitter and stuff like that. Benny, he texts me back, yo, son, I can trip the referee. And I'm like, okay, like it's more important things going on right now than you having floor seats to an NCAA tournament game.
I don't know, man. I wish I had floor seats to an NCAA tournament day yesterday. I would have been pretty happy about that if I was him. So, nah, man, it was good. It was good. You know, it was nice to see. Nice to see Ja Morant do his thing, so that on a national stage, so everybody can see that this kid can play. I mean, like I said, I've seen him play a couple times already, so I knew what he can do, but. You know, it's always nice. That's what makes the NCAA tournament great, especially for these mid-major teams. Like, you know, you're not getting that kind of exposure when you're playing your, you know, regular season. You don't even get that kind of exposure when you're playing your tournament championship in some of these mid-majors. So
they had one game on ESPN2, maybe. Matter of fact, they played Belmont on ESPN2.
Okay.
They played Belmont on ESPN2 probably in the early part of February, and that was maybe their first nationally televised game. And then obviously the OVC tournament. Yeah, so the 2 games against Belmont were on TV. But other than that, yesterday was really the first time many people got a chance to see him. The offense is effortless. The way he sets up his teammates, very efficient. A triple-double Benny on 9 shots. That's something that a lot of players in the NBA can learn how to do.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like the thing about him that I love is, you know, he always makes the right play, right? I mean, he had 10, 11 assists yesterday, and it wasn't like he was forcing things. You know, he was
16 assists.
Oh, 16 assists. Yeah, my bad. Was it 16 assists or 16 rebounds?
16 assists, 11 boards.
That's even better. But, yeah, I mean, you know, he was making the right play. He was coming off those screens. They were doubling him, trying to get the ball out of his hands, and he just found the open man. Guys were hitting shots for them yesterday. I mean, listen, they didn't just win yesterday. They dismantled Marquette.
No, they beat them up, son.
Yeah, they were up 7 or 8 at half, and I think the final was close to, I don't know, 15 or 20. I mean, I had turned it off, started watching other games because – you know, that thing was done. There was nothing to worry about.
It was in the bag. That one was in the green column. We cashed that one pretty early with Murray State with the Racers. Now they get ready to prepare next up for Florida State, which is going to be a much tougher task. Florida State is a team I think that can legit win this tournament. So it's going to be interesting to see how Leonard Hamilton and that big, long, athletic team in Florida State, how they decide to guard him. Charles Barkley was saying yesterday, at this point, you see how good he can pass, and you know that he wants to pass. So you have to get physical with him. And also on the defensive end, you have to put him in the post. You have to make the game tough for him. And Florida's like the kind of team that can do that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, when you have a kid like that, the idea is you got to throw multiple guys at him. Just kind of like you said, kind of tire him out, kind of wear him down. If you can get him in the post and get him guarding somebody who's bigger than him, try to beat him up a little bit down there. I mean, the kid is good. And if you're going to let him run wild like Marquette did yesterday, it's not likely to end up well for you.
All right, so let me ask you this now, Benny. This is something that me and the homies was talking about last night. Me and the homies came over here yesterday. We had a good time. It was one of my boys' birthdays, so we was in here for about 6-7 hours. I'm surprised there's still 2 beers left in the refrigerator. I thought they had cleaned the joint out. Speaking of beers, beer and pizza is cool all day long when you're in college. But when you get to be my age, beer and pizza takes an effect on you. You wake up, you really feel it, Benny.
Yeah, I mean, when you add the wings, we ordered pizza and wings yesterday too, because I was sitting here most of the day with my kids watching. I was not about to go and cook yesterday.
No doubt.
So we did the same thing. I got to be honest, it wasn't the greatest morning for me. If I get up and run out in the middle of the show, you guys know what's going on. So
exactly, 100%, and vice versa. So I was talking to the homies about this last night, and I was like, let me ask Benny about this because my brackets have started off pretty good too. Mm-hmm. But I do have Florida State going to the Final Four in both of my brackets. Now Florida State has the matchup against Murray State. Should I hedge and play Murray State on the money line to at least make back my entry fees for the bracket?
I mean, here's what I say to people too. It's like it depends on how much money you have on the line with your brackets, right? Like if you're in a $10 bracket where it's not going to change your life, like you don't have to go crazy and start hedging something. If you played in one of these, $100,000, $500,000 buy-in kind of things, it's still a little early in the tournament to really start doing some hedging. But again, if that's a Final Four team that you got, that if you lost, you're pretty much out. It's not a crazy thing to do. I mean, honestly, this conversation next week when we're at Sweet 16, Elite 8, kind of territory, it makes a lot more sense to me for there. At this point, I'm just kind of rolling with, I got down the bets that I like for the first round. I'm going to kind of roll with them on Saturday and Sunday. The teams that I like, that I saw that look good, that I want to go on again, I'll take them again. And then you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday where we got no NCAA tournament going on.
You don't get into the NIT, Benny?
I mean, again, I'll bet some NIT games or I'll watch some NIT games, but like we're talking, I didn't do an NIT bracket. I don't know if you did. So I got no
NIT bracket.
Yeah, I got nothing to hedge on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's just gambling for some action while I'm watching some games. That's a whole different story. But you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to kind of look through and say, all right, my bracket's doing good right now. I only lost 1 or 2 teams here. I got a legit chance to make some money if a couple things break my way. That's when I'll start worrying about hedging and stuff like that because, again, right now when there's still – what do we lost 16 teams yesterday, so we still got 48 teams in there. Like, trying to hedge on 48 teams, there's still so much stuff that's going to happen in the next couple days where, you might wind up in a great spot going into next weekend, or you might wind up looking around and being like, yo, I don't even have a chance, even if everything worked out well for me to make money here. And again, we didn't really have a lot of big upsets yesterday, right? Like, there wasn't anything crazy. There were no –
that's what scares me about today.
And that's the thing. You start hedging right now, you may wind up losing 2 Final Four teams today. You never know. Like, there's always some kind of upset in the first round. And yesterday we didn't really have anything. There wasn't anything all that big.
No, you do got some blue bloods in action today, and I do think I have a potential one that I found on the slate. But it's funny. Our boy Chris Vaccaro is in with one of the same pools as me. I believe the top spot is 3,000, the second spot is 2,000. One of our brackets, we have the exact same Final Four. You know what I'm saying? So now you're starting to say, all right, well, where can I get an advantage on Chris? Or else, if it's me and Chris at the end, I'm just going to be like, yo, son, let's bust this joint up, split it up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I have no problem doing it. I tell people all the time, like, money in hand is a lot better than winning. So, like, if you get that, especially, like, when you're in, like, these knockout pools for NFL or something like that, like, my phone is always open. If you're in a pool with me and we're one of the couple people left there, I'll make a deal with you. There's 5-10 grand on the table. We each take 3 or 4. We play for the other 2 or something. I'm always down for something like that. I always like making sure I put some money in my pocket. And then obviously you play for a little bit to give yourself a little bit of extra upside. Like, listen, no one's ever going to argue with an extra $3,000 or $4,000 in their pocket. I mean, and if you are, you can send it to me if you don't want it, because I'll find some way to spend that.
I can definitely find a couple of ways to spend that, and some of it will probably be on the black market. Now, with that being said, Benny, so the brackets are doing good. So, like I said, the hedge thing, I'll worry about that a little bit later on. I agree with you. It might be a little bit too early to start thinking about that. But back to some of the action from yesterday. One of these Sweet 16 teams that I lost yesterday, well, two of them, I'm going to get to both of them. I'm going to start with New Mexico State.
Okay.
I did not have to lose New Mexico State yesterday. You talk about end of the game shenanigans down the stretch, but I'm like, yo, what are they doing, yo?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Auburn, the young man with the terrible foul, actually gives New Mexico State a chance to get back in the game. Yo, Benny, it looked like Bruce Pearl head was going to pop off his shoulders.
Well, you should have saw me. My head was about to pop off my shoulders, too. I had a whole bunch of Auburn money line parlays there. I mean, listen, Auburn basically put on a master class at the last 2 minutes of that game of how not to try to win a basketball game. And all credit to New Mexico State. Those kids did not quit. They hit big shot after big shot down the stretch. They did exactly what they had to do. The foul was one of the dumbest things I have ever seen, and they got saved that kid missed that first free throw because, you said, oh, give him a chance to get back in the game. That gave him a chance to win the game. If that kid knocks down
in the game.
Yeah, if he knocks down all three of those free throws, they're down one with 1.7 seconds left, and I don't think they had a timeout. So, I mean, you're talking about some Christian Laettner shit you would have needed in order to come back and win that right there, like full length of the court pass, turn, shoot, and you got to knock it down. Like, I mean, they put themselves in a really, really bad spot. And listen, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. There were a couple other plays that happened before that, like just the foul with 15 seconds that fouled out the starting point guard for them.
Yes.
Like, it's not a bad idea to take that foul when you're up 3, but you're supposed to take that foul with like 5 or 6 seconds left. You're not supposed to give the other team another 2 chances to get the ball to foul you, for you to shoot free throws and to get it back. Like, that defeats the purpose of doing it. And honestly, like, a lot of people think Bruce Pearl's a good coach. Like, all those mistakes at the end of the game, that all comes down to coaching.
And I despise Bruce Pearl. I always have despised Bruce Pearl.
I mean, again, that's coaching. Everything that they did there was coaching. Like, I was a high school basketball coach before I went and started working at FNTSY, and I had to give it up because we were doing the shows at the times when the games and stuff were. But I played basketball my whole life, coached basketball for about 10 years or so. End of game situations is something we used to do. We used to spend 20 minutes on every day at practice. I would say to the kids, like, all right, here's the deal. You're down 5 with a minute left. Put one of the kids on the clock. One of the kids, one of the third string kids would sit on the clock and do the clock for us right there. And I'd be like, your job is to win this game. And I would stop every time they did something stupid, every time they did something that, hey, in this situation, this isn't what you want to do. Because when you get in those close games, you don't want the kids thinking. You don't ever want the kids
to be second nature.
Exactly. You want to just react. You want to know, boom, ball went in the basket, we're down 2, I'm getting up on my man, and my man catches the ball, we're fouling, we're putting them on the line. If it's a 2-point game, we're going to the basket. If it's a 3-point game, we're looking for the 3-pointer to kind of tie it up. Everybody's got to be in there rebounding on every shot. Everybody's got to be doing this. Like, you don't want your kids to have to think about it. If you're coaching in the NCAA tournament 34 games into the season on what your kids should be doing the last 2 minutes of the game, then you're not a good coach, because that stuff should have been done before you played game 1, not at game 34, going over the tape of how you almost blew an NCAA tournament game yesterday.
Now, New Mexico State, they get the rebound, they get the ball. The young man comes flying down court. He has the layup to tie the game underneath the basket, and he kicks it back out to the man for 3. And my first thought was J.R. Smith, because I'm like, son don't know what the score is.
Yes.
After the game, he said that – the young man said after the game that my teammate had a wide open shot. Benny, that's bullshit. He didn't know the score. He thought they were down by 3.
So it was pretty funny because like I said, I used to coach high school basketball, right? So a lot of the kids that I used to coach now are like out of college in their early 20s and stuff like that. So there was like 3 or 4 of them that came over yesterday. I had a couple of my boys over. We were watching the games on the 2 TVs and all that stuff. And we were trying to figure that out too. We're like, yo, there's no way that kid thought that it was a 2-point game. Like, he kicked that out because he thought they were down 3.
Yep.
Like, that was not planned. Like, he should have just made that layup, tied the game up, and then they should have went in and played some defense. So, I mean, there were so many things that happened at the end of that game that as a coach you would just scratch in your head like, oh my God, man, like what is going on?
He shoots the 3, gets fouled, which is a bad foul. He shoots the 3, he gets fouled, he goes to the free throw line, misses the first one. Let me tell you something, Benny. Watching all-day college basketball yesterday, these kids got step-back jump shots. These kids got Eurostep.
Oh, yeah.
They rock the baby. They can do everything in basketball except hit free throws.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me. I mean, honestly, it's the easiest shot in basketball. There's no defense. You're standing 12 feet away. You're directly in front of the basket. So hitting in front of the basket is the easiest shot because if you're long, if you're short, you can get the roll off the backboard. Like, I don't understand it either. And this is what we talk about. Like, you talk about the difference between American basketball players and these kids in the tournament and a lot of the kids that are playing in Europe and growing up playing on these club teams and stuff. They are just so much more fundamentally sound. Like the AAU scene is not the place where you go to learn.
The AAU scene is the mixtape scene now.
Exactly.
Like, it highlights that. That's where you learn the Eurostep. That's where you learn the step back.
A lot of one-on-one basketball over there. A lot of, I'm more athletic than you. I'm stronger and faster than you. I'm going to go there. But, that's why you see teams like, like it didn't work out well yesterday, but like a Yale or, like a Harvard when they get in these tournaments or, some of these teams that have just fundamentally sound players that do the right thing right there. That's how they're able to compete with some of these teams that are just way more athletic than they are, is they just play the game the right way. So, there's a little bit to be said for both of that. I say all the time to people, man, like, basketball coaches are only as good as the players that you have. Like, Coach K is a great coach, but Coach K also gets 10 McDonald's All-Americans. I'm not trying to say, anybody can do what he does, but you give 10 McDonald's All-Americans to just basically any coach in the country, they're going to win a lot of basketball games.
They're going to be able to put up those numbers too. So,
yeah, talent matters. Talent matters a lot.
He gets bailed out because he misses the last shot. The ball goes out of bounds. They get the ball back. Now they're down 2. Great play drawn up by New Mexico State coach. Wide open in the corner for the 3 to win the game. Me and my boys are like, when the play shook out and he gets open, me and my boys are like, oh! Mm-hmm. He shoots an air ball, Benny. And then we just all fell out laughing like, how could you air ball that one?
But I'll be honest, that was the same kid that hit the one that put them down one. The kid Queen. Yeah, Trevelyan Queen. The shot he hit to put them down 1 with a man in his face from about 3 feet behind the line was big time. Yeah, exactly. He had ice in his veins on that one. And that's the way the game goes sometimes, man. You hit a 25-footer with the guy in your face, and then you miss a wide open 3 in the corner. Like, that's, that's the way it is, though. I mean, people don't, you don't shoot over 50% from 3-point land. So, the odds were not in his favor to hit those 2, but they hit 3 or 4 threes down the stretch there to kind of keep that game close and keep them in it. Like I said, I mean, the New Mexico State kids, they should be walking away with their head held high.
No doubt.
They played a really good game. They had that 19-game win streak. That was a great season for them. I'm sure they're not happy with the way it ended, but that was a talented team, and they left it all out there. So they had nothing to worry about, nothing to be upset about.
30-win season is nothing to sneeze at. They played 35 games. They go 30-5. Get out. Auburn survives. Auburn takes on Kansas next. Kansas had a pretty easy time against Northeastern last night. So those 2 teams go on. They move on and they survive. Another team that survived yesterday, as really a lot of people were on Belmont getting those 3 points yesterday. If you was on Belmont +3, you did cash that. That line did cover. If you was on that Belmont money line, though, wow.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. My big bet was on Belmont +3, so that was nice. And I had Belmont +3 in a lot of the parlays. But I talked about it yesterday on the show. I also threw something on the money line, just, kind of juice up the returns a little bit. So I lost that bet a little bit of something that came off the top. But I mean, listen, we, basically what we said yesterday, like, Maryland is not that good of a team.
They're not, son.
And, I mean, if you watch that game yesterday, like, yeah, they got the W, they're moving on, but they're not that good of a team. Like, I'm really looking forward to taking LSU over them in this next round.
LSU is going to be interesting, too. Obviously, get it done yesterday without their coach, Will Wade, suspended. It's going to be interesting to see that LSU-Maryland game. That's going to be one of the good ones that we got coming up tomorrow. As far as Maryland down the stretch, listen, the Jalen Smith dunk and one, that was a big play to help push Maryland to that victory. But that kid, Dylan Windler from Belmont, he was stroking it. That guy can play.
The thing that I liked about him is when he was coming off screens, like, his body was always set to take a shot. Like, when he caught, it was just catching fire because he was already squared up to the basket. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. Like, he did not have a good game in the I think it was the conference tournament. Oh no, the first round on Tuesday on NCAA when they played that playing game. He didn't have a really good game, but he looked really, really good last night. I think he was 4 or 5 from 3 in the first half. Finished with over 20 yesterday. That kid could play, man. He's good.
No, Jay Billis tweeted this morning that Dylan Windler is a left-handed Gordon Hayward.
No. I mean, Gordon Hayward is better going to the basket. Gordon Hayward was always better. Like, Gordon Hayward could shoot too, but he goes to the basket a lot better than the kid Willard does. Willard, to me, is just he's more of just like he's a pure shooter is his number one asset, and everything else in his game is kind of works off of that. Is with guys coming up on him, he can go to the basket, he can go around it. I don't think people give Gordon Hayward enough credit. Like, Gordon Hayward is a stud. Gordon Hayward literally carried them when they went to that Final Four that year. He literally carried that Butler team. So Gordon Hayward as a college basketball player was like, I was like, man, this kid is good. Like, this kid is very good. Like, I like Willard. He'll probably make the league, but he's gonna be a standstill corner shooter if he gets to the league. He's not gonna be a guy like Gordon Hayward who can do a little bit of everything.
No, I agree with you on that one. I thought Billis was a little bit out of line. I like Billis. I'm a big Jay Billis fan. I think he's one of the smartest guys in the media. But I did also disagree with that one. But the kid can play. But not Belmont. They don't move on. Maryland survives. They get LSU coming up next. Florida, Baylor, and Wofford were all very impressive. This Florida team is really starting to hit their stride. The SEC is like a very good conference this year. The ACC is top-heavy with those big three with Virginia, Duke, Florida State, and Carolina, but the SEC all through that conference was pretty good, and we saw yesterday on the big win by Florida knocking off Nevada.
Yeah, to be honest, man, I think that was more like no, I'm not knocking Florida. They played a good game. They're a good defensive team. They do a lot of things well, and offensively they were better than I had given them credit for. But that was one of the worst games Nevada played yesterday.
I've seen Nevada play bad games this season. I felt Nevada was overrated. I saw them when they went to Utah State about maybe 3 weeks ago. They went to Utah State. They got into a little skirmish after the game or something like that. They got those two twins, but I'm like, it's just something missing from Nevada.
Well, my big problem with Nevada after watching them yesterday is that they don't run anything on offense. Like, it's all just one-on-one, schoolyard bullshit, really, for lack of a better way of saying it. And that has its place, and it also is going to get you in trouble when you play a good defensive team. Florida is a very good defensive team. So all that one-on-one stuff, Florida had weak side help every time. The big guy was in the middle there. Big guy blocked a lot of shots, altered a lot of shots. And, it almost looked like Nevada didn't know what to do. Like, Nevada's way of coming back was give it to one of the twins, set a screen for him, and then hope you can get him going to the hole, which is a very, NBA-type offense, which is why I think those kids' games will translate to the next level. Those two kids will probably both wind up, making an NBA roster, 6-7 guys that can handle, go to the hole, hit some shots. That's the kind of kid that a lot of NBA teams are looking for. But, I mean, to win a game against a team that is pretty well coached, especially defensively, they weren't going to do it yesterday. And, I mean, they made a run. They made a comeback. Eventually, those shots started falling. They started finding their way to the basket. But, you go down 12, 15 points, you have to take so much energy to get back into a game when you drop down 12, 15 points. You're not going to have a lot left at the end, and that's exactly what happened in Nevada.
Wofford, however you pronounce it, they were impressive last night. Also, Benny, they went and got the job done really kind of easily versus Seton Hall. But next up for them is Kentucky, if Kentucky advances tonight. And my boy's a big Kentucky fan. You know what I'm saying? He always talks about Kentucky's NBA legacy and Kentucky's 8 championships and Kentucky's the real blue blood. And I'm like, when Kentucky can consistently beat North Carolina in the tournament, come holler at me. I'm telling him, you need to worry about Wofford, whatever. Yeah. He's like, no, they're going to get smacked. And I'm like, nah, son, you need to worry about Wofford, yo.
Well, I mean, isn't this what we talked about yesterday, where there are certain teams that the average fan or the average person who's not watching a lot of college basketball is just going to be like, oh, yeah, Kentucky, they're good. I'm going to take them. I'm going to bet on them. I'm going to go here. This is not your normal Kentucky team. This is not the Kentucky team with, 7 McDonald's All-Americans, 2 guys on the bench who were McDonald's All-Americans because they have so much talent. They're missing their best player, and what's the kid's name? PJ Williams or something? PJ Washington, yeah. So he's not playing right now. Anytime you take one of the best players off a team, they're obviously going to be a little bit, less good. Do I think it's going to really matter for them today? No, because the matchup they have today is one that they, the third string could probably wind up keeping it a game and winning for them. So I don't think it's going to show up today. But like you said, we watched that Wofford team play yesterday. That's a good basketball team. If you're not when you get to the Sweet 16, when you get to the, even past the first round, really, there are no bad teams left. There are very, very few bad basketball teams.
And you got to look at how long they've played and how long they've played together. They've gone through a full season, so you're really getting their best effort. You're listening to, viewing the opening line right here, part of the Elite Fantasy Sports Network. Make sure you check out the new website, elitefantasy.com. Go over there, get yourself ready for your 2019 DFS baseball season. My main man, Benny, is going to have you covered for that. Also, you want to bet on the NCAA Tournament. Tom and Gene, the boys over there, they got your picks coming. So go on over to GuruElite.com and get your bets for the NCAA Tournament. I'm telling you right now, it is the best bet on the web. So a little bit of stuff out around the tournament yesterday. A lot of people were talking about this day in the life of a student athlete commercial. And it was interesting, Benny, to see the professional athletes, whether it was NBA, NFL, WNBA, they were like, we don't know what kind of college student athlete that is, but that's not what we went through. You know what I'm saying? That's not what we went through. That is not what student athletics is. Student athletes is waking up at 4:45 in the morning, going and lifting weights for an hour or two. A lot of times, so tired by the time you get to class, you're not attentive. The young man in the class was raising his hand and doing this and doing that. He was like in the middle of the day, that kid in the video took a run through the yard. He was like, when we did our runs in the middle of the day, we didn't run through the yard ROTC style. We was on that football field humping. Where's the coaches yelling in his face? Where's your girlfriend that you don't get to spend no time with? A lot of people say, Benny, the only thing that was true about that video was the dude didn't eat.
Yeah, I mean, if you've known anybody who's played college athletics, I mean, you know the way that it is. It's not an easy thing to do. You know, you go to college and you're not playing any sports, you can wake up and get all your classes at 10, 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can, you know, have them all done by 3. You can go do a little bit of homework.
Social life.
Yeah, exactly. You can do a little bit of homework, and then starting at 4:30, you start drinking for the rest of the day, and then, you know, wake up, do it again tomorrow. When you're a college athlete, though, I mean, you mentioned it. You're waking up early in the morning. All my friends who played sports in college, they had basically 2 practices during the day. You had one like individual, especially if you played basketball. You had an individual practice in the morning for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on what position you played. If you were a big guy, you did a bunch of drop step stuff. If you were a guard, you know, you worked on a lot of ball handling things, a lot of jump shots, things like that, getting up your, you know, couple hundred shots a day. And then you went to class. Like you said, you lifted at some point during the day, and then you had a full practice sometime later on in the day. My boys that played basketball in college, they slept all day. Like that's literally it was like I woke up early, I went to practice, I did my lifting, I went to class, I went to study hall, and then I went to sleep. Like that's basically what they did. You know, you saw them in the off season, you know, and even in the off season, they're still lifting, they're still going and working out in the off season. But I mean, during basketball season, if you know anybody who plays college basketball, you don't see them very much. I mean, it could be your best friend, it could be your boyfriend, your girlfriend, like you said. You're not going to see them all that often because it's not an easy thing to do, which is why, I mean, I know people are like, oh, they get a free education. I am all about paying some of these kids money if they're, you know, you're bringing in a couple $1 million to your school and you're getting a, you know, $100,000 education. Like, yeah, that's nice. But, you know, if you came out and somebody said, yo, I'm going to pay you $20,000 a year and I'm going to expect you to work your ass off for 10, 12 hours a day year round, you'd be like, screw that. I'm going to get a job at McDonald's. I don't got to work that hard.
Not that good when you look at it over a 4-year span. You know what I'm saying? Of dudes yelling in your face. You know what I'm saying? The grind is serious when you're looking at, and some of the dudes that were tweeting about it, it was real funny. Alvin Kamara retweeted and quoted it and was like, what the hell is this? And Todd Gurley was like, yo, dog, that's not it. That's not how it is.
No, I mean, you know, it's not easy to be a professional athlete. It's not easy to be a college athlete. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into it. If everybody could do it, everybody would do it. And again, you know, you got to be lucky. You got to have some size and skills. You probably got to hit the genetic lottery. But there's a lot of guys that are big and strong and fast that can't play sports because they didn't put the time and effort into it. You know, the thing that I always tell people is like the better you get at something, it's like golf, right? Like there's a lot of people out there that play golf. The better you get at golf, the less fun it is because you got to put in so much more work to keep yourself at that level. And it's the same thing in every sport. Like you can go out and play pickup basketball with your friends and have some fun. But when you start getting really good at basketball and you gotta train for a couple hours a day just to be able to go out there and play at the level that, you know, you're expected to play at in college athletics, it becomes a job. It's not as much fun. That's why you see a lot of kids that get burned out.
They're doing unpaid labor for the university, and the university is cashing in big time. I was talking with my guy Boogie, Ja's uncle, and I'm like, yo, do you see the ticket prices? How they are now to go to that game against Florida State tomorrow. The tickets starting at $500. They're not coming to see, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
The dude on the end of the bench. They're coming to see Ja, you know what I'm saying? Who was a student athlete. Another controversy from yesterday, Tom Izzo yelling and getting on that kid at the end of the game. Now, Benny, you're a dude that coached basketball. The dudes that I was with in the crib was like, yo, that's holding him accountable. They had no problem with it. I was like, that would seem like it was a little bit too much. Not to mention the fact, and I got to be honest with you, the fact that it's Michigan State, Benny, almost makes it worse because Michigan State is a cesspool.
I mean, here's my thing, and like, there's probably a lot more to that story. Like, we saw a little 5-second clip of him yelling at the kid and all that stuff. But there's one thing that you know, again, like, I come from a long line of high school basketball coaches. My dad coached in back in the day. My brother coaches. I coach now. So we do a lot of talk. I mean, my mom played basketball in college. So, like, basketball is kind of the family, you know, that's our family tradition, you know? And one thing that my dad always kind of said to me is, like, different people require different things to motivate them, right? Like, there's some guys that if you yell at, they curl up in a ball and, you know, you're not going to get anything out of them for the rest of the game. There's other guys that sometimes they need to be pissed off. So there are sometimes there are kids that you got to kind of yell at them and challenge them to get them to play and to get their head right and to get them to do that. So I'm never going to knock a coach off a 5-second video because you don't know the whole story. You know, like, I mean, Bob Hurley, for anybody who's New Jersey high school basketball, you watch Bob Hurley coach a game, you would think that he is the meanest SOB in the entire world. But if you know Coach Hurley he will literally go into kids' houses and, you know, save them from bad situations if there's stuff going on. He'll get out of bed at 3 a.m. if one of his players got arrested for something stupid and be down there helping them get out of jail if, you know, it really wasn't anything big and anything stupid. So, I mean, you could be a hard ass and you could also care.
No
so,
doubt.
Again, I don't want to knock him without knowing the whole story. Was that a little bit, you know, intense? Listen, it's the NCAA tournament. If you don't have the intensity in the NCAA tournament, when are you supposed to have it? Like,
exactly, especially when you're the 2 seed that's kind of on the ropes right now. They were on the ropes at that point in the game.
Yeah, I again, like I said, I don't know the whole story, everything that went on in the background and all that. All we see is a 5-second clip that people are making their decisions on. I can tell you this. I know Tom Izzo is a passionate guy. I know he's a winner. I know he's proven that he's been able to win before. And if you talk to the guys that played for him in the past, you know, the Mateen Cleaves and all those other guys, you know, they all say that Coach Izzo's the man and they love him and he'll do anything for him. A guy like that is somebody I wouldn't mind my kids playing for. So, you know what? If you yell at my kid, you yell at my kid. I have no problem with that. You know, if that's what it takes to motivate him and get him to do what you need him to do, that's your job as a coach. You have to know your players and know what gets them going and what doesn't.
Izzo was asked about it in the post-game press conference, and he more or less said, you know what, you newspaper guys are something else. He was like, if I ran a newspaper and you weren't doing your job correctly, I'm going to hold you accountable. And he was like, so I'm just going to leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? So there you go right there. Getting ready for some of today's action, Benny. I want to start with a team that I've had a lot of luck with this year. Very profitable is Ole Miss. The Running Rebels, Kermit Davis's team, they get to face Oklahoma in an 8-9 game today. My one knock against Ole Miss is they come out to SEC, so they're battle-tested. But they have played a lot of close games, which I expect this game tonight is going to be a close game. Or this game this afternoon is going to be a close game. They find ways to lose close games. I don't like that about them, but I'm moneylining Ole Miss on this one.
I think the money line, whichever side of this game you want to be on, I think the money line's a good bet because this one's like a pick 'em or like a 1-point game.
That's a pick, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, there's not much. Is Ole Miss fair? I think they're favored by 1, right?
Ole Miss 1-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you know what? I'll take the 1 point just because I'll take the -110. They got to win by at least 1 point anyway.
Benny, I've been in some situations. I was like,
I don't mind the push though. I don't mind the push. I'll take a push on it. That's fine by me. I get the better odds though if they win by more. But yeah, this actually is going to be one of the better games of the day. I mean, I could see either one of these two teams winning. I don't really have a lean in this game because I don't mind Oklahoma and I don't mind Ole Miss either. The one thing I will say about Ole Miss on why I kind of would lean that way if I had to pick one of the two is I really don't so far, I haven't been impressed with Oklahoma and the other teams in the Big 12 that have
No,
kind
the
of.
Big 12 is not a good was not a good basketball conference this year.
Yeah, so I mean, like, and there is something to that. Like, if you look and you see, like, Florida beating Nevada yesterday, like, if you see a bunch of SEC teams winning, it makes me feel better about the SEC teams because they were all playing each other, beating up on each other this year. I feel like Ole Miss had, like you said, Ole Miss had a tougher season to get to where they are right now than Oklahoma did. Oklahoma's wins and the teams they played, it really isn't all that impressive.
A 3-point loss to Kentucky, a 2-point loss to Tennessee. They had a bad loss at Bama. They had that one loss. The loss against Tennessee was at the end of the game. The fans was throwing trash on the court. That's how crazy that loss was. But listen, Kermit Davis does a good job. He just got an extension. His first year down at Ole Miss already got an extension. They are a 3-point shooting team. If they're hitting their threes, they're good to go. But they can't generate some offense in the half court. Another good 8-9 matchup today, Benny, is UCF and Virginia Commonwealth. UCF with the big kid, Taco Fall, is 7-6. UCF, another team that's very good against the number also this year, coming out the VCU's in the A-10. They're in that American East or whatever it's called, American Athletic Conference, something like that. They got the big kid Fall, one of the better defensive schools in the country. The way they play defense, the way they get after it. I think this is a UCF. I'm leaning UCF on this one. What do you think? You got to lean on this one?
Yeah, I like UCF a lot too. I mean, hey, you better be a good defensive team when you have a 7'6" kid standing in the middle there. So
you really can't score on them, Benny.
I mean, it's not, you're not going to the hole against that team. And they got another big kid that's pretty good too. So they got a lot of size in that team. I got to be honest, like, I'm not a fan of ECU at all. So, like, to me, this is a real easy one. UCF -1. That's definitely a team I'm putting money on today.
Like UCF today, I think that's where that goes down. I don't have a lean on Cal Irvine and Kansas State. Kansas State come out that Big 12 that we talked about. But I think that could be an upset situation right there.
Yeah, so let me explain this one to people because a lot of people are looking at it and just being like, well, how are they going to beat them? They're a low seed and K-State's a high seed. So the problem with this game is that two of K-State's best players, two of their guards, are both not going to be playing today. The one kid definitely not playing. The other kid is very unlikely to wind up playing. So you're taking two starters off of this team right now. So you're going to wind up with, I think they have like a sophomore kid who's going to wind up playing, big minutes here today, who's not bad. And then another kid who really wasn't played much all year that's going to wind up stepping into a big role today. So that's why everybody's picking UC Irvine as the big upset because you're basically, I mean, you go to any one of these teams and you take two of the key pieces off of any of these teams, they're not going to be as good. And that's the situation with K-State today. They're missing two of their best players and going up against UC Irvine with, guys that have been like 15, 20-minute players for most of the season that are now going to be stepping into roles where they may have to pay 25, 30 minutes. So I'm in the, they had that bracket tournament thing over on DraftKings where, it's basically like daily fantasy college basketball. It's a survivor tournament. So I survived yesterday. I'm in it today. And I actually played the one K-State guard because he's like basically minimum price because the other two guys are out of there. So, I mean, I still think, I don't think K-State is going to suck and get blown out by UC Irvine by 20. But really, if they were full strength, I would have thought they win this game by 10, 15 points. Without those two kids, though, I mean, this is going to be a close game. I think K-State's still favored by 4 or so, but this is definitely an upset that, makes sense why all these smart guys and sharp money are going on them.
Well, okay, another team that I've been riding this year a lot is a team that brackets shake out a certain way. This team has Final Four potential, and that's the University of Buffalo. I love to get that Thursday night maction. I love watching my MAC games on Thursday night. You got Buffalo versus ASU. ASU coming out of that first four versus St. John's. Buffalo laying the 4.5. I'm laying the 4.5 with Buffalo. I love this Buffalo team. Buffalo can score 90 points.
So this is interesting to me because the line in this game has actually moved. It opened at 6.5. Like you said, it's down to 4.5. So I kind of want to take it at the 4.5 because I honestly probably would have taken it at 6 at the beginning of the week anyway. The over on this game is also up. It started at like a 155. I think it's up to 157. So, they're expecting this to be a very entertaining up and down kind of game. Buffalo is a team that can put up a lot of points. They shoot a lot of threes. They play fast. Here's my thing with Buffalo, and this is what I'll tell people, is like teams that rely on the three-pointer, especially in like a 6-game tournament, you're going to have a game at some point during the tournament, if you're going to make it all the way to the end, where you're not going to shoot the ball well.
Yep.
So what do you do? How do you win that game when you have that game where you shoot 25%. Now, the problem with betting on a team like that is, they come out, they shoot 40%, they're going to win this game easy. They come out and shoot 25%, how are they going to win this game if they do it? Now, I don't know if Arizona State is the team that's going to really be able to kind of shut them down and keep them there. But as you go deeper into this tournament, you start playing teams that are legit defensive teams that have, probably more athleticism. Because let's face it, Buffalo's not a big-time school. It's not like you're getting the big-time athletes.
No.
Start playing some of these teams that have a lot more athleticism than you, it's going to be a problem because at some point they're not going to shoot.
Buffalo will be down the stretch. How are they going to match up potentially against Florida State? And that's where it becomes a problem for Buffalo, Florida State, and both teams advance. But I don't have a lean on Wisconsin and Oregon. What you got?
You know what? I don't have a lean on this game either. It's a 116 total. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Both schools are decent. This is one of those ones, Corey, where if they played 50 times, it may wind up 20-something wins for one, 20-something wins for the other.
Yep.
And when you have a situation like that, what the good thing about gambling is?
You don't have to bet.
You don't have to. The book has to put a line out there, but you don't have to take one side or the other of it. So as far as I'm concerned, this is one of those games where it'll be on the side TV. I'll keep an eye on it if there's nothing else going on, but I don't want to put any money on it.
Final one that I want to talk about, Liberty and Wisconsin. I'm taking Liberty in this game right here. I'm catching those points with Liberty. I believe it's 5.5 right now. Mississippi State, good season. One of the stronger teams coming out the SEC. One thing I have seen a lot of Liberty basketball this year, watching these crazy games on ESPN+. You know what I mean? And Liberty is another team that shoots a three well. They do have a little bit of inside game also. I'm taking Liberty catching these points. They have been in some tough spots versus Power 5 conferences. Didn't get any wins versus a Power 5 team, but they did play those games close.
So here's one of the things I did today. I'm with you. I kind of like Liberty, but I'm not sure if they can win this game.
It's not going to be in the parlay, put it like that.
No, well, actually what I did is I wound up teasing it. So I took Buffalo teased. You get 4 points on the teaser. So I took Buffalo was -4.5, teased them down to 0.5 point. So basically I just need Buffalo to win. And then I teased this one up. It's actually 6.5 is what I got it at. So I teased it up to 10.5. So basically, if Liberty loses by 10 points or less and Buffalo just wins the game, I'm going to win on that teaser bet. Like I said, I agree with you. I don't know if they beat Mississippi State, but it's going to be a game. I don't think Mississippi State's going to blow them off the floor like some of these other matchups that we've seen. So I teased it up. I took the 10.5 on that one. I'm pretty confident that Buffalo is going to win, so I'm not even worried about them being at a half. And you know what? If you do the teaser on the DraftKings Sportsbook, they actually have some teaser plus thing where you're getting – normally a teaser, you're going to do it. You're going to get like 90 cents on the dollar back. On DraftKings, you get like $1.10 back or something like that. They're giving you like extra money to take teasers. So
I'm going to look into that. That's actually not a bad idea, that Buffalo tease. I just don't want Liberty to fuck up my Buffalo tease. I'm rolling with Buffalo all year. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see them get it done. Before we get ready to get out of here, give out the Big Piece of Chicken Awards for the day. Don't forget, EliteFantasy.com is the new website. Get your DFS over there. Get everything done. As far as your betting goes, you want to go to GuruElite.com. Make sure you support the crew over there putting out that good work, getting those winners out there for you. And do not forget FantasyGuru.com if you're getting ready for your upcoming season-long fantasy baseball team, not to mention fantasy football also right around the corner with the NFL draft coming up. Benny, you go ahead and get it started off. Your big piece of chicken from yesterday.
Yo, so mine's going out to – I'm actually going to go over to baseball for my big piece of chicken today. And it might have to be my big piece of chicken and broccoli because I'm giving it to Ichiro Suzuki. For those of you who don't know, Ichiro officially retired from baseball yesterday. It was his last game. I think they're over in Japan or something like that, and he was playing in some exhibition game or something. But he officially retired from baseball. Now, we know Ichiro Suzuki from his time when he came over to America. But even before he came over here, he was a star in the Japanese league, basically doing the same things that he did. And one thing that a lot of people don't know, like you've been to Yankee games before. I don't know if you ever go early and watch batting practice. So when Ichiro was on the Yankees, like everybody looks at Ichiro as a slap hitter. When you go to batting practice and Ichiro Suzuki's up there, every single freaking pitch he pulled into the short porch at Yankee Stadium. They get like 5 or 10 pitches and then the next guy comes up. It was literally just balls being just barrage of balls just raining down on the short porch. And I always sit in the short porch when I go with my kids and stuff because you could BS with the outfielder when you're out there. Like it's a good place to sit and watch games. So
I like the other side. Home run alley. I like to sit on the other side of the short.
Okay, yeah. On the in the left field? Yep.
314, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember watching Ichiro taking batting practice, and we were like amazed. His swing you know, you see the swing that he used in the game where he was just trying to put the ball on the ground and use his legs to leg it out. But if he wanted to, he could have been a 30, 35 home run a year kind of guy. Again, he wouldn't have done it hitting 340 like he did. But Ichiro Suzuki was one of the most complete baseball players I've ever seen in my life. The guy had a cannon for an arm. He was just like, he was a natural stud at baseball. Anything that you could do, great bat control, you know, really smart player, had speed. He was a legit star. So big piece of chicken today for his retirement goes out to Ichiro Suzuki.
Ichiro, you get a big piece of chicken. I'm going to go second time giving son the big piece of chicken inside a week, Benny, but I'm giving the big piece of chicken to Ja Morant, mainly because when the lights turned on and he was on the big stage and everybody came to see him, that game was highlighted on TBS at 4:30. That game started by itself. It was the only show in town, and the young man showed up triple-double. If you look at the people that have had triple-doubles in the NCAA tournament, it includes Oscar Robertson, Magic Johnson, Dwayne Wade, and Draymond Green. He's an elite company right now. So, Ja Morant, you get the big piece of chicken. So, everybody enjoy the games today, Benny. Looking forward to having a good time. Good luck to you, my man, as you get ready to take on day 2.
That's it, man. Let's make some money today, guys. That's what it's all about.
No doubt. Make sure you subscribe to the video. Give us a like. Give us a comment. We out. Open the lines. Done.